start. We have Jeff Jackson coming from the global team, so he can cover the early pipeline. Right? So we will. I think we need to give him about 45 minutes to an hour to present on the early pipeline. So, and we know all him, so I think, and he should dive maybe into more details in some of the assets, right? And also, I liked also very much how he was presenting the signal detection and so on, right? So, and tell me, when do we start in the morning on Sunday?
9:30.
9:30
to 11:45. A quarter to 12.
Is the whole morning, and then we have lunch and break out until when?
The closing time wasn't actually fixed. We said 2 p.m. and also sometimes at 4.
4.
Yeah.
4.
So we don't know how long the discussion will last.
So I think at opening it, right, I most probably will open the meeting and then also say what the objectives are. And I think the objective should be very clear, is about really defining the unmet medical need that comes after PD-1, right, and also identifying any Asian specificity, subtypes that do respond less, and then also discuss what and the next point of discussion would be, based on this unmet medical need, we have an early pipeline that we discuss how best to address the unmet medical need. So I will do a 10 minutes introduction to set the objective and also go through the agenda. So how we want to do it. Maybe, and then let's say we have 9:45, and then we have Jeff presenting until 10:45, right, the early pipeline. So, and after the early pipeline presentation, do we need to have any more discussion in the bigger group? Or should we then take, say, okay, after the early pipeline, we have discussed it, they can ask questions. Should we then say, then we break out, and then in the breakouts, we discuss our current development strategy in lung, plus our biomarker strategy in lung, and then have a discussion on the unmet medical need, on their point of view. I guess we have prepared some slides, and that's it. It's what else?
We only have one biomarker leader, right, Katrine?
Yeah.
Only Alex.
Yeah, but it's not a problem. We can ask him to prepare for all the substreams, right? And we can either look at it if it's very complex, then he should rotate from one tumor type to the other tumor type, right? We can do that. Right, so that, for example, we could start with
he won't be able to stay for discussion. So he will be only introducing the strategy and then move on.
Yeah, and I think we need to see how we do this best, right?
After the presentation, maybe in the big group, some KOLs, investigators will have some questions just to ask some details.
Of course,
so
we will not shut down.
Yeah,
right?
so
we will not shut down.
We can have opportunities for this kind of Q&A. Let's also make others to understand better during the discussion or the question.
Yeah. So the question is, should we have a general biomarker presentation following the early pipeline presentation, or should we have the biomarker by tumor type discussion?
I remember previously, last meeting we discussed about, in the morning section, we have to discuss more general, broad tumor type topics, including our early pipeline, what's the landscape in China,
Yeah, I think Katrina was asking that whether we should have like cross indication discussion after Jeff's presentation.
Yes.
And I think that maybe no. We can have the Q&A session, and if there is any opinion, we can use that time.
And then
Yeah.
say,
We leave the indication by indication thing up in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And Katrina, do you think we should introduce professor or let them introduce themselves?
I think we need to do the introduction.
Yeah,
right?
because so many new faces.
Yes. Yes. So we start off maybe at 9:30 to do first a general introduction of everybody in the room, and then to have the objective presentation. So maybe to 9:30 to 9:45 introduction, and then 9:45 to 10 o'clock the objectives, and then 10 to 11 overview of EMS early pipeline. So with the objectives, I also present a little bit the agenda. So what we are supposed to discuss when. So if we want to discuss biomarkers, we will discuss it on a tumor specific, discussion. And so then we have 11 o'clock, and then we would move into. So we will not do a general biomarker presentation in the morning. The only thing is, and this is something I need to discuss a little bit with Alexander, is does he want to discuss a little bit on the latest thinking, right, is about the intrinsic or extrinsic resistance mechanisms. So generally, what is the latest hot topic, mutational load, these kind of things. Should we have maybe a hot topic biomarker presentation following the early pipeline presentation to say latest thinking on resistance patterns with PD-L1 or with immunotherapy.
So you are saying who going to present this?
Alex
Cao from Biomarker?
Yeah, he's global. He's the global biomarker lead for oncology. So if somebody can present it, then it would be him most probably.
Katrina, I think my personal opinion is that I believe there will be question about precision, like biomarker, the value of PD-L1 expression, any new method for immunotherapy. These kind of questions coming up during the Q&A. That's for sure. I think people are curious. After the failure of 24026, what's the current biomarker strategy for BMS?
Yeah.
So, is there possible that we can address this
I think
in
we
bigger
can.
group?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so. So then we add a biomarker presentation in the morning, maybe 30 minutes, to say, this is part of the hot topic, right? If you fail, there is a resistance somewhere, right? Is it early? Is it late? Is it,
But Katrina, for this biomarker topic, are we specific for PD-L1 or for the future aspect?
But it is connected, because if you don't respond to PD-1, you need to know. You need to supplement with mechanism of actions that make you respond, right?
Okay.
So why don't you respond, right? It's you have a resistance. So if you don't respond, you have a priori resistance, and you need to understand the resistance mechanism.
Okay.
And then it's very nicely at one of these I'm really not an expert here. Is you need to understand where the resistance mechanism is, right? If it's the tumor cell, right, that is not presenting an antigen, you can have millions of T lymphocytes, but it doesn't matter because you have no antigen that's being presented, right? So you really have to understand the resistance and where it's coming from. So that's why it all leads back to PD-L1, right? Yeah. And what we will say is PD-L1 is not a biomarker of resistance, and also not for response. Like this, in some settings you are lucky it may be. In some settings it doesn't tell you anything about resistance. In first-line lung it may tell you something, but it doesn't tell you generally. It's not the marker of resistance or not.
You cannot address all the
The science is very important. And on the other hand, should we also take into network, for instance, ION would have on a global basis?
Cannot, because Jean made a comment I should approach David Felkate if maybe somebody from China could participate in the ION network. I reached out to David Felkate. The response was no. So I don't want to raise, expectations and then we cannot make it. So yeah.
Regarding the PD-L1 biomarker strategy, it will be a long discussion.
I would position the PD-L1 biomarker as a marker of resistance.
I think we can just present our global strategy presented in last ESMO, and also global had released this kind of strategy in long. Just that all the investigators know what's the position for PD-L1 and in our EMS, and then we can just.
But we don't have a consistent position, right? I think in RCC, we would say PD-L1 is not predictive. In squamous, we would say it's not predictive, but we would say in non-squamous, it's predictive. So it's really depending on the tumor type.
But I just the concern is long discussion in the morning
Exactly.
because we have not so enough time.
Yeah, I know Rick's concern. I was thinking it's actually a very hot topic, this biomarker
It
topic.
has nothing to do with the early pipeline.
Yeah, exactly. So what's our really key purpose for this AB meeting? Because when we discuss about the early pipeline, we are trying to consulting all the advisor about new compounds beyond PD-L1
So maybe also we can frame it in the context, right? And I think the Cell paper was a very good paper, is to say you have 3 resistance mechanisms on PD-L1s. That's you don't respond at all, right? Even PD-L1 positive patients do not respond to PD-L1. But you don't respond a priori to nivolumab, right? You don't respond. The second is you respond and you progress. Yeah. And then the other, actually we have only two. What was it? The first one was a priori you don't respond, you respond and do not and progress after a while. So
Adaptive.
the adaptive.
I think it's a good topic. Just for instance, if we can't mention ION, could we just showcase our expertise because we can't cover everything. So
Yes.
do we
Yes.
have internal platform
Yes.
that's really
Yes. I know where you're coming from. To finalize your, if you don't understand the resistance mechanism, right? We have patients that do not respond to PD-1 or who will progress on PD-1. You can have PD-L1 testing 10,000 times. It will not tell you why a person is resistant to PD-1 therapy or why the person is progressing. So it immediately leads you to a new mechanism of action, right? And that's maybe how we want to position it is. PD-L1 testing, is informative to say who potentially responds, but it will even not tell you who will be progressing on therapy. And then you have patients that do not respond, and that's the unmet medical need, right? And through the unmet medical need, we know PD-1 will not, neither nivolumab nor PD-1 testing will be sufficient. And what we want to discuss at this hard board, what's coming next? What's there for people that do not respond to PD-1 or progress on PD-1? That's what we want to do. If we are stuck on PD-1, okay, I understand that this is maybe the concern today, but if we really want to make progress, we really need to think about the next mechanism of action.
And the potential population for the new assets will probably be the ones who resist to PD-1 drugs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And I can put this into the objective session, is maybe to start from the biomarker, from the Cell paper, right, is to say, this is what we have. And actually, I actually I drafted already a slide and I can show you. It's for the 3 types of resistance, right? There's also publications for melanoma is to say, okay, we have 30% that respond to PD-L1 therapy in melanoma but progress. So, and this is really the context is, you don't respond to PD-1 or you progress. So what's next? So you need to check. And then the biomarker will not tell you anything about it.
So in this regard, should we really adjust the sequence? Maybe we can need to move the biomarker research topic ahead of the early asset pipeline. Because once you discuss about it, you actually need to resolve those who do not respond. Then we move to the what's our new pipeline.
Yes. And I think, we can do this as the objectives, right? Is to say, why are we here today? We want to discuss things that come after PD-1s.
Yeah.
The era after nivolumab, the era after pembro. And what are the challenges today? The challenges today is you will have patients like this and patients like this. Therefore, you need to look at new mechanisms of action. Let us first tell you our early pipeline, because the early pipeline is almost everything about additional mechanisms to complement PD-1, right? And how they interact.
Okay.
So additional checkpoint blockade or NK cell stimulation or these kind of things. And Jeff can talk to that. And then we can also go to say, and this is what many papers also said is, in the future you need to understand how you select patients.
Yeah. Okay.
So there we can also say, it's what we do from a biomarker perspective to look at resistance mechanisms. Maybe more like this.
Okay.
We can ask Alex to say, can we share some insight of what, but if you look at our early pipeline, the resistance mechanism will be very much aligning with what our early pipeline looks like.
May I ask, is it possible to invite one key KOL to talk about the advance in the oncology research area, the future of oncology post PD-1?
I think we don't have time for it. It's very difficult.
If you want to go, who will be the key person?
It's kind of selecting a chair.
Yeah, we have different tumor areas, and every investigator consider.
I think,
he or she.
yeah, exactly. In the morning, all this has already
Very busy.
very busy schedule. And Haijing, I think for this, your suggestion, actually in the afternoon section,
Yeah.
break out for each tumor type. We will consult the
That's
source
for
leader,
sure.
yeah, for the landscape or the.
Yes. So.
Okay.
Okay. So then, what we will ask Alex is if he can talk a little bit about resistance mechanisms and what we do from a biomarker research to understand these, our latest thinking.
And I think we can find some reference for pre-reads. That's the public, public papers. So that's no confidential thing.
Yeah. Actually, in the Cell paper, there's first of all this one Cell paper. In the Cell edition of February, there's the whole Cell paper is talking about different, aspects of immune therapy and resistance. So we may want to pull out the volume, and then also in the selective Cell articles, you have all the reference to the latest. I looked at it during the vacation because Zoe was talking about the T memory cells, right? That are are stimulated with PD-1s, right? I was reading, we don't even understand the T cell population that we are activating with PD-1s. We don't even know that. And then even we don't know if the T exhausted cells actually are the same as T memory cells. So So at the moment, the published literature says the only T cell population that we are increasing with PD-1 treatment is T memory cells. Not and they are not the same population as the T exhausted cells. So it's you know, like the title. After reading more, I think we know even less than we thought we know.
Are you sure you were on vacation?
This is a very interesting mechanism of action, right? And it's so important for us to understand. So we need to look through this a little bit, and then also check with Alexander what he thinks are the right references, and then also for Jeff that we say, you know, should we share the cell paper because it has all the mechanism of actions that we are exploring.
And I think we should pay attention to the time control because for the first session, you need to leave enough time for Jeff, and that's the key for the.
Who will contact Jeff and Alex in this part?
Haijin and I will contact Alex and Haijin. Should we?
Yeah.
Can I make a proposal? Can I make a proposal for the high level topic? Let me contact Jeff and Alex.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you can.
You know, just to make sure that we have the right direction for the presentation, and if they have concerns, you know, I can tell them, or, you know. Okay. And I copy both you and Haijin. You and Haijin. But let me explore with Jeff and Alex. So for the breakout, then right is what I also hear from Haijin is we need to make sure that we actually actively solicit input. One question I have is, do you think that for tumor type, that the KOLs have a good overview of what the clinical strategy for nivolumab is? Should we start with the clinical strategy? So what are we addressing at the moment in lung cancer or in GI melanoma?
We have to. Otherwise, we have no same baseline.
Yes.
Maybe we can should have like an overview of the whole compound development.
And you think
strategy?
It's per indication.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, right, to give maybe some global people the possibility to do that. So for the overview of the per indication for lung, if Faith could do this.
But Faith cannot. Okay.
Or is she not? Is she
Faith
too
is
low?
available. Yeah, she can come.
Or you and Faith work together.
Okay.
Overview of the lung cancer program for Nivo. You, Vicky, melanoma GU, because we have no global person coming from melanoma GU. Then for HCC, this will be Christine.
Okay.
Delabus. And then GI, Minchan is coming as well.
Yeah.
Then so we had HCC, GI, melanoma GU, and lung. So for lung, right, we said it's you and Face together. So what is also very important, and this is something we can do later on, is especially for the HCC and GI section, we need to have a very strong person in the room because it's very easy that Christine takes over. So
Christine just said that she did not book flight.
not yet, but she committed to come.
Committed.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I remember she has sent itinerary to me.
Christine, yes, I get
Okay.
I just
Fine. Confirm that.
yeah.
So here I think you need to do some control because I'm very confused. Ming-Shen doesn't have the big picture. He has a very, very scientific, clinical study perspective. Christine will take over and talk the whole time. this is
Personality.
we need to put a strong person to make sure, and this is maybe Jeff. I was thinking Jeff could join the HCCGI session because of clinical, right? So he would fit there. So we need to prime Jeff, and Jeff has worked with Christine, so just to make sure, right, so we would give an overview. But then we still have the overview of the biomarker. So Alex would need to give the biomarker overview.
For each indication?
So that's the question. Or, if he presents in the morning, we can say anything that's specific to the tumor in addition. Specific biomarker for the disease we are looking at. So that's what we already do. And then for the breakout session, and then really comes is to say, his problem is to keep people focused. Because this, you can debate for a year in a way. Right? So, I would keep it short in terms of what we are doing, because everything we do is post PD-1 anyhow. Right? So, just to say this is high level the overview, what we are going to do. There will be patients not responding, there will be patients who will well. So, and then let's discuss, what kind of biomarker we already know and explore in the setting that could, be indicative of, adding potential synergy to PD-1s. And then we need to say is, so what's the remaining unmet medical need?
To internally then the biomarker topic after the breakout, morning breakout.
So we said in the morning we still have a 30 minutes presentation on, a general presentation on the current resistance mechanisms and biomarker research. And remember then now for the unmet medical need, right? When you look at do we want to have a biomarker in the afternoon session or not?
During the
Breakout.
breakout during the subgroup discussion, I think it's avoidable. Unavoidable. You definitely will talk about it.
Yeah, you talk about it, but
They
you
will
want a
mention about that.
presentation.
Yeah. Probably not formal
But maybe
presentation.
Alex can sort of in your show, just introduce the biomarker by indication going through
Yeah.
very quickly.
Biomarker by indication, yeah.
Alex can present that to each group or
Sequential.
oh okay. You can come okay.
Probably 10 minutes, but just give all audience
Ah,
results.
okay. Good.
Then what did we have under the unmet medical need? We had already discussed it last time. So what were the questions under the unmet medical need?
If from the lung perspective, maybe we will invite KOL to introduce what's the landscape. Here in lung, there are always a lot of presentation about what's the unmet medical need.
Yeah. So what we had put here is what is the unmet medical need? What patients are groups?
What's the data gap and potential topic?
I had once kind of scientific in Japan last year. So basically, the global team already mapped out what we are doing and what are
PD1 progressor in non-squamous?
Well, then in this case, you're right. So basically, we have amendments or future amendments
Exactly.
everywhere.
Yes. Yes. So it would be, like this. So maybe high level. Let's take some examples, and that's where we need to prep quite a bit before and everybody, like this, who will have a chair role in the breakout meetings. We need to prep and make sure, like this. If we say subgroups, right? So for example, the physicians can say, look, in squamous lung cancer, really the subgroup that is, or if they say so in second line cancer, we can say, so squamous looks quite good, but non-squamous is really the histology we should be focusing on. And then in the histology, what is it we should be focusing on? In non-squamous is, we can say, the negatives. The PD-L1 negatives is the main concern, right? So drive them also to the main unmet medical need left, right? So let's take RCC, right? So we know that there will be no differentiation between PD-1 and positive or negative. So is there a subgroup where they see is rather, instead of PD-1 driving the efficacy, what else is driving the unmet medical need? So do they see, let's say, a RAS mutation that actually is more linked to outcome rather than PD-L1 expression in RCC, right? So really trying to go down to histology, like it's maybe when we submitted the questions to the physicians, we need to say is, if you go in the adjuvant setting, if you go in the first line setting, in the second line setting, so we can say, what is the highest unmet medical need remaining in the second line setting? Which subgroup, for example, which histology? And then they can say, looking at the data at the moment, it would be PD-L1 non-expressors in non-squamous.
Actually, all you mentioned about this unmet medical need is here regarding to the PD-1 or PD-L1 inhibitors. We also need to consult them.
After PD-1.
Yeah, really beyond PD-L1,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
So really in this indication level, what's the unmet need?
So look, let's take non-squamous again, and please use jump in. Just brainstorm. If you look at non-squamous, if you're PD-L1 positive, at least you have the chance to respond.
Yeah.
In non-squamous, if you're PD-L1 negative, you have no chance.
Yeah. So that's really.
I'm thinking that for the new assays, there are several ways that we can test the efficacy in the clinical trials. For example, that's the post PD-L1. That's one way, and the other is adding this to PD-L1 treatments. So it's not purely after PD-L1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But fully agree. But after PD-1 means after you have generated monotherapy data, right?
Yeah.
So now we know in non-squamous that monotherapy is not enough. So you need to know, you have to have the data set. Maybe in the future you will not even bother anymore with monotherapy, right? You always go directly into combo. But it's more like you needed to generate this monotherapy data in order to understand where your remaining unmet medical need lies. So
That's correcting it is that case. They go to the model and then go to the combo with new, and just based on the cells.
So, but we need to ask some leading questions, right? How do we get to this? So should we do it by line? Just to say, look in China, the subtypes you are looking at is actually, not corresponding to subtypes, in Western world, right? So that would be also an output to say, okay, unmet medical need is acral and mucosal melanoma.
Yeah, one of our main objectives is to identify China-specific medical needs. So just we can ask the investigators with the lead question in subtype in each tumor types, and if no difference between the Chinese patients and Western patients, we can go into the details according to a line.
Yeah, I think this is also what we discussed last time, right? Yes. And that's coming back to the data gap. What we said is, do we need to repeat all the experiments that we have done in Western patients, in Chinese patients? If you do this, you lose a lot of time and a lot of opportunity. Right? So I think this is also then part of the discussion is, do we need the same amount of PD-L1 data in squamous, non-squamous, and first line and adjuvant in Chinese patients because we believe there is something different? Or do we know today enough to say, if generally the behavior is the same, and then we should not repeat, over and over the same experiments, but then move rather to the new mechanism of action and say, I don't care anymore about PD-L1 expression. I care about LAG-3 expression, or I care about, Clipican expression, right? Rather than so the afternoon will be very hard to lead patients. What we want to know at the end is, we don't need to address above 50% of high expressors in first line non-small cell lung cancer. We don't need to do this anymore. But I think we need to convince people. We need to get the confirmation we don't need it anymore. Now it's really about below 50%. And if it's below 50%, we will have patients that we have shown with monotherapy will not respond. So what do we need to put on top for these patients to respond? But this is a huge segment, right? And then also to understand, here in first line you can also discuss what is the goal of therapy? Is the goal of therapy also in the PD-L1 negatives to replace chemo? So you need to really dive deep, and maybe we have to do these questions by tumor type, because we already know today that there will be differences. Right? So in some settings we will not be able to replace chemo, but I think in many settings if we could replace chemo, that would be nice. So, long story short, Zhao Ji, Vicky, Julian, and Rick, could you work on a set of questions that could lead you down the path to identify the unmet medical need in China? What are the kind of questions you would ask for your therapeutic area? So you two about GI, HCC, GI. What would be the kind of questions to lead them down? You, melanoma, you, lung. What kind of questions to lead them down? And then we can share that. And then the other thing is, so this is defining the unmet medical need, right? And once we have identified the unmet medical need, the next question was about data gap. If you define the unmet medical need, right, do you still need to test? Is PD-L1 expression the same in China as it is in global? No, maybe not. Maybe in mucosal acral, there may be there's a difference. But also I think what I also want to try is the endpoint is to bring people away from the PD-L1 testing. Right? It's because it is not a good biomarker. And we should what is it that makes a difference, right?
And most of the time, the biomarker research really across the ethical level, and between different Caucasians and Chinese Asians.
Yeah. So, if in your sub-team there is a strong belief it is very different, then I think what is very important also to make note of this, to say, your strong belief is it's very different. And then I would say, like it's the only thing we have in the in-house data at the moment is for 078 to show it's actually very consistent, right? PD-L1 expression.
So we can discuss
To say, and then also ask where is it coming from that you believe that there's a difference. What is your observation? You should also get this, this information. Why do you believe it's different? And would you spend time on it, knowing that there's a next generation coming and you maybe want to look for a different target?
I'll just give an example. I think, for example, for Professor Wei Long in Lung, he thinks there is in China there is a data gap, because he thinks currently the cutoff used for PD-L1 expression or non-expression across all the companies are too arbitrary. They just cut off by 50% or 1%. From her perspective, he wants to do a separate in Asia, in a separate study to further explore which is more appropriate cutoff. So I think he more care about this kind of data gap.
Yes. But this doesn't match, an early pipeline discussion.
Yeah. Exactly. I was just worried he will bring us to that direction instead of talking really about.
How we frame our questions, right? That
I think each group has their own issue. For lung professors, they have their thoughts already, and they want to find answers for their question, not our question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And for male GU, I think they are quite new. They are surgeons. They do not know a lot about development, so we have different kind of issue.
But also, to be honest, this is not a one-time chatbot, right? I think this is setting the scene, and I can also make this, in the objective setting clear, right? We have objectives, but we should collect what they believe is a data gap, and we shouldn't argue about it, right? Is to say, we note it down, we know that's important, but for the purpose of our early pipeline, we need to focus on anything that comes beyond. But that we will follow up on all the issues that they identify for us. For us, this is also information collection for them. Right? We will not come to any conclusions at the meeting. We will collect information which we need to synthesize, match with, we need to do further experiments. And that's, for me, unmet medical need now, when you identify it, then you can have a very easy flow over to what is the data you need to generate. Right. So, Professor Wei Long could say, I want to know in the 15% and about how it's responding. And you can say, yes, this is irrelevant, but what do we do with patients that are not responding?
That's our key.
So what kind of targets should do you have specimens? What kind of target, have you looked at? Do you see any biomarker, from your perspective that would be very relevant? These kind of things. And if they have no answer, they have no answer. But also when they go home, they by knowing what our biomarker, our targets are, they can think and make a proposal coming out of it. And this is then you go into the science, right? We can have lots of discussion on the unmet medical need, but then maybe pick 2 or 3 examples for the unmet medical need is to say, so so now we know the biomarker testing, now we know, what do you have a biobank, what would you recommend, what seeing, what is your research telling you, like this. If we have no clue at all, which compound should we do anti-LAG3 or LAG3 expression sum? Should we do just run a Professor Wu alongside, like this, 15 patient samples and just see what is the LAG3 expression? So this kind of discussion is to see, is there something we can do with it, right? And then also what their thinking is. Maybe they know something more we don't know. I was thinking the same, Julian, is I honestly believe MSM's going, people will walk into the room with very different expectations. And maybe disappointed what we are discussing. So the question is, should we divide and conquer and say, by end of March, we will target in all your subgroups the KOLs invited, and we really take them through the questions and the scientific research that we are looking for. Half an hour, just tell them that this is, and I can prepare the objectives as well, and then we go and see them and say this is what we want to do. No. I think first we need to get all this right? So I think by mid next week, get the questions, and then also I can draft the objective slides, and then from mid next week we have the 23rd, then we have about 2 weeks to visit them. Of course we have sweeping days and these kind of things, but and also what we could do for Hong Kong, we could ask Maris to get on the phone with us and say, can you do this for, you are going to Hong Kong, right?
Yes, I have come back from Hong Kong site. I believe Professor Tony Mock,
Yeah.
but he cannot join us because of the time conflict with other activity. But he is quite interesting.
Yeah. So then maybe we can, so who else do we have from Hong Kong?
For lung cancer, we don't have any.
Okay, so you don't brief, and you brief Maris on?
I think for the GU and melanoma we have 2, Joanne Chu and Thomas Yang. And for the GI, Thomas Yang was for GI.
So then we can prepare the objective and the question is, and ask Maris to go to these Hong Kong KOLs. I'm comfortable with Maris to do it. But for the Chinese ones, we go. How many are left from these Chinese KOLs? How many have confirmed attendance? And if you
we have now, I think we have 12 from mainland.
12 from
Yeah, and then this number will, still a couple more.
So can we look into the 12? Who is melanoma GU or who is HCC, GI? If we anyhow have visits planned. If we have anyhow visit plans, we should immediately discuss it with them. But I fully agree with you. We need to go and tell them what we want to do at this high point.
We will not do that.
Yes.
So that's important.
Yes. We don't want to spend time anymore on PD-1 expression and non-expression. We really want to spend time on the next generation.
Exactly. Future program.
Okay. So, Vicky, could I ask you to maybe start a first draft list for melanoma in GU on what kind of questions you would ask, and then share, and then people can copy paste what
You are not silent.
how to ask the questions on the unmet medical need.
I can do that for melanoma, but I think, Katrine, there are differences, for
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
But that's kind of just
especially
A
like
start,
for
yeah,
lung,
yeah.
so different.
The lung cancer is very different from GI
definitely.
and melanoma.
Yeah.
Okay, so then all do a first draft,
Mm-hmm.
And
And
then
we share with each other.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Learn from each other.
Learn from each other.
Yes, exactly. Can we meet maybe the next week to go through the questions?
Like
Tuesday, maybe,
No
or
problem. Tuesday
Monday
we
or
have
Tuesday.
Okay.
Monday
we
you are
have
not
a-
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tuesday.
Tuesday we had a team meeting.
And then
Next week we are traveling to visit the phase 1 site, remember?
am I joining you? No.
Next week.
Oh, no, you're not, but Rick and I will be.
So, quick, then can Julian work on HTC and GI for the time being, and you work together. But, then we meet if you are traveling. Okay, so, nevertheless, we will work it out, like we have to work on the questions, no matter who's traveling, then you just delegate to somebody.
Okay.
And then also, can you look at the KOLs and already look, when you could travel and see them, and on 1 or on 2 or 3 visits, I will join you as well.
Okay.
We can just
share you the
place visits to some key investigators, because that's the major voice during the discussion, and they can drive the direction. So we cannot to meet all the investigators just.
But depends if we have 12 from mainland China, right? And we have 4 hot topics: lung, melanoma, GU, GI, HCC, and gastric, right? So maybe some of you use, so it's 12, so that would be maximum 3.
Okay.
I agree with you.
I know.
You don't have to target all 3, but you may have planned 1 or 2 visits already.
If we have time,
Yeah.
we will.
Yeah.
To
But
target the three.
but then for the 3, when you cannot target all 3, you choose the one you think will be most vocal,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
So, and then for the slides, so just let me know. So I contact Jeff, I contact Alex. Besides the question, everybody, so Zhao Jing, you also need to prepare the slides on the lung cancer program overview.
Yes.
And maybe do it more like, like in a grid or something, and not study by study, population by population. More like, say
More high
first
level.
line, yeah. You for melanoma GU.
So could you specify, so what do you want to see?
So, for example, is we do is more like this, right? Is to say here, like your table in is to say, this is adjuvant EC, right? And then what we use is, nivo monotherapy is in this famous population, or maybe to say adjuvant, then you say the population you use, and then the treatment regimen you test.
Will we share the timeline?
No.
Okay. No. Yeah, that's what I think.
No. Right? Just do it like this, the setting,
Okay.
your population you are studying, and the regimen. And you can also refer to here, right, is to say the study number, right? Here, for example, neoadjuvant, you could say study 577, China participates, right? You can also tell them that actually in this program we have China everywhere. So we will generate data. As well.
So Katrine, for the male GU part, so you want me or you
No,
to?
you.
Okay.
You.
Okay.
You make a
If
slide.
you remember in the PRC, China PRC meeting, Linda has already prepared, very, very similar
Very similar to
slides.
this slide.
Yeah, it's easy one. I can do that. No problem. I can.
You had that.
Yes, exactly. I think they do less describe the population, they just say the setting, but I think it would be nice to show the population as well, right? It's at the
It's
end.
more China specific.
Yeah. But not study by study and not endpoint, right?
So I'm thinking that for the male GU subgroup, we will go indication by indication. RCC, bladder, male, each one with strategy, then discussion. Then second strategy, second discussion. This kind of flow. Do you think it's okay? Because if you...
I think what we need to look at is if we have too many bladder, to be honest, I would keep to a minimum of a population size. So now you need to also tell me at the end, right, is do you want bladder to be in at all?
I see.
So, or do you just say, let's focus on RCC and melanoma and we discuss this? And bladder, like this, would be nice, but we have no time.
Let me discuss with the KOL during pre-visits. I believe there will be questions for bladder. Let's see if we can put it in backup for.
Yeah, exactly. So, and also what you believe, right, is at the end, and then focus on it. In the discussion.
For EC, I will prepare this, but share with Rick so you can.
Thank you.
I think like this, it's a bit of work to do, but I think what is coming out of it will give us a lot of valuable information, right? And then hopefully we can also prioritize some of our assets more clearly.
And it's not just for us. It's also, we are showing what we can do, we will do to the KOLs. That's also very important.
Yes. I also think, to be honest, one of the downsides I think at the moment for PMS China, I have the feeling is that we have made an image that we do not much care about the China-specific issues, but always come with our global program and say how does China fit in, rather to say how can our global program be adapted to China. Okay. Okay, so then you meet Tuesday or Monday Tuesday or Monday again.
I will know here. I will be back on Tuesday.
Tuesday, so we meet Tuesday.
Meet Tuesday, okay. So I will set up the meeting.
Yes. And I also will share the objective slides, and I also already will talk with Alex and with Jeff.
Okay. And I should just let you know that Professor Guo Jun, he wants to be here, but he's not sure.
Who is it?
Professor Guo, you visit him and promise him.
The melanoma.
You promise him.
Yes, of course.
We invite him, but he has other conflicts, and he will try to see if he can be here. If he cannot, we will invite a sub-I in their site.
Yes. And then I go with you to visit him.
But what if he cannot?
Even if he cannot come, he should give us some input.
Okay.
Because he was so upset that we never care about input.
Okay, so
or what we can say is, can we see you after the report when we produce some results?
Because I'm worried about whether we can have the draft slides on hand to show you.
Yeah. So how about that we say,
we'll see.
If he cannot come, then we will schedule a visit afterwards.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So, and then we just need to make sure that we align with the medical team.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you invite for Tuesday next week, then invite Jean.
Okay.
And Jinjin.
And also for the logo or PPT template, does anyone have any input or any idea? We will have a vendor to design it, but we would like to share some ideas with, what elements.
In the slides template.
Yeah, just like the R&D day, we have all these Chinese elements. Yeah, and they honest, I don't
I don't care too.
Something that reflects innovation.
Okay, because they're thinking, we may do this series meetings, and we will do something consistent,
Yeah, something innovation in future. In China. China.
You have this topic in last R&D day.
Yeah. So
Good.
around China, innovation in future. That sounds awesome.
Exactly. We just reflect China, innovation, the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
This is not an easy
Yeah.
task. Also, Haijing, thank you. Thank you, a lot of stakeholders.
Hi, Haijing. We just finished.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.
So if you have this note, I can see from somebody who told you, we should send it to.
哎，你好呀，苗超是吧？哎，不好意思，我是 Barry。那个，我能不能问一下那个，因为我们现在电脑是好像是屏蔽自己的，就是其他的 U 盘什么的，对吧？就是插进去是不能识别的。对的，对的，就不能识别，就 U 盘认不出呀，好像我听说是就屏蔽。对的。那你刚刚说的，如果不是这个问题的话，是什么问题？就是那个问题是对，是怎么样的？那是怎么样的？OK， 那我先打 helpdesk 那个报一下好了，好吧 ？OK， 好，谢谢，拜拜。
quality. For alternative contact methods, office hours, and additional information, please visit servicescentral.bms.com. For English, press 1. 普通话。
BAIY 8。对的。帮我那个开一张单子，就是我电脑无法识别我的 U 盘。对对对。对。我不是这也要权限的。不，什么叫网络硬盘？就是一般的硬盘。不是网络，就是一个一般的 U 盘，就是，对对对，移动硬盘。对的。应该有吧，就是有一些是有办法识别，有一些没有办法识别，好像是要安装什么，我不知道什么 Windows XP 什么 Pack， 因为我已经联系我们 local 的 IT 的同事，他说可以帮我就是看一下是不是要安装什么软件的，什么 Service Pack 什么。OK， 谢谢。好。好的，是那个 A249316。对对。X230。那个上海的WeLook 就是那个叫什么南京西路，对对对，汇德丰15楼。23218117。 OK， 好，好，尽快，谢谢。啊，不需要。OK， 那就是同时他们就会接收到单子的是吧？哦 OK， 好好好，知道了。OK， 好。对，好，尽快好吗？谢谢。好，拜拜。拜。网络硬盘。